Hi folks, my name is Danny. Welcome to Danny's Corner. This is another video. The second part of the first video, which is why are we still having gun violence in the United States? That's not the title of the video, but it's basically what it's about. In case you haven't heard yet, yesterday we had another mass shooting in Maine done by a person who had mental illness or has some sort of a mental illness going on. You can find more information wherever you get your news from. On the first video, I talked about some of the causes of why we were having this gun violence in America and violence overall. Today, I want to focus on how we can reverse that violence and see if we can walk in more calm places, right? If we can finally get to a place where this doesn't have to happen a lot. So if you've noticed, one of the things that have been happening in the United States is healthcare is high. Everything from medicine to prescription meds. So there's, over-the-counter and prescribed medication, but they're both high regardless. The other thing is treatments, and I can go on and on. The other thing is, because these things are expensive, the other thing is people don't want to talk about their problems. Remember what I said on the first video and on the other video called The State of the Nation as Told by a Blind Person, is that we as a society were taught that we are great. And what happens when a person gets taught over and over and over that he is great? We don't need help. We don't seek for help, even though we know we need it. It becomes weak. It becomes something that other people do. I don't need it. This is where things like arrogance and an air of superiority, haughtiness come from. Some of the things that I have mentioned on the previous video. The other thing is, not only do we need more access to healthcare, but we need to open up more centers that have been closed and that were closed due to tax cuts for certain people and or because we thought it was wasteful spending. As of this recording, I can guarantee you that a lot of people in the United States, I do not have the percentage, I do not have a study, but I can tell you just by everything that I hear going on around me, and I'm sure that this is true with other cities as well, there is a high percentage that some, if not more than half of the people living in the United States, this includes the people that are homeless, have some sort of untreated mental illness. This doesn't include your typical things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and others. This includes things that people don't talk about: depression, anxiety, anger management, and I can't think of others right now. But there's a lot of people who are undiagnosed with mental illness, or they don't want to admit to themselves that they need psychological help because it would be weak to admit that. So after admitting that, after opening these hospitals, after funding these hospitals, and having people aware of this, what's next? The other thing is to realize that we are always going to have disagreements. But that does not necessarily mean that these disagreements should be so fiery, that they come so, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, these things shouldn't come to the point, to the boiling point, to where you feel the need to punch someone or grab a gun. If you're having a bad day for whatever reason, stay home. Please, stay home. You need to work, then you're going to need to keep yourself in check. We are not responsible if you woke up late, if you woke up with a bad attitude, if you woke up with a migraine, or anything else. I think all of us have had to deal with certain things. We woke up late for whatever reason. We have a migraine, we're sick, we're worried. Each and everyone experiences that. But that's not going to be a reason why I should be angry at the rest of the world for no reason, and therefore I'm going to take my anger on the other drivers, let's say, or my frustration because my boss didn't pay me well on other employees or that person who fired me. What is this going to resolve? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I also urge you to go and search for my video on why the October 4th conspiracy theory should stop. I believe that's what it's called. Because it has a lot to do with these type of things as well. And to be honest with you, for a party that claims to be pro-family values, pro-Christianity, pro-everything that's good, sacred, and loving, we are definitely not seeing that right now when they are choosing to continue with my right, and my right to own guns and to do whatever I want, while the other people, well, they just need to put more windows, and they just need to put more metal detectors, and they just need to have more security, and they just need to have this, and they just need to have that, and homeschool your children. Do you know where I'm going with this? We, as American citizens, should have more restrictions as long as they can keep their guns and their rights. We are obsessed with our rights. Obsessed with our rights. I mentioned idolatry, and I want to spend some time, a minute or two, on this. Idolatry, if I'm not wrong, because I'm not, there isn't a dictionary in front of me or whatever, but I think we can all agree that idolatry is anything that is placed above anything else. So, for example, let's take guns. When I think guns are more important than my fellow human beings, when I think that my right to own a gun is more important than other people's peace, security, when I will do anything to keep my right to bear arms, when I get outraged, when I throw a temper tantrum because my right to own a gun is threatened, I have to think to myself, am I going too far with this? Is this really what having a right is supposed to be? Think about it. I know that you're stressed just from hearing this. But I want to ask, for the people that have this type of attitude, pro-gun, this must be stressful. Thinking how at any minute they can take your gun away, thinking how America is against you, thinking how everyone is against you, and again, this obsession. People, this not only affects, this type of attitude doesn't only affect Americans, those of us who find it ridiculous for them to keep on going on with these, pro-gun rights and stuff like that. But I imagine it is stressful for the person who's living in their obsession to go on with this too. So listen carefully to what I'm saying. This affects not only the person who is an idolater, but also the people who are not. So just to make it clear, an idolater is, or a person who is who idolizes, a person who is in idolatry is a person who places anyone or anything above other things, where they want to possess it, when they worship that thing or that person to the point where nothing can touch it, where the point where they get angry, outrage, their speech just changes. That's idolatry. And this is what we have done with our gun culture. And I'm going to repeat it again. It stresses them out, perhaps much more than it stresses us. The problem here is more people are being killed in spite that we have more guns than people in the United States. And that's my personal opinion. And the other thing that we should do is admit to it. Admit to our mistakes. Admit to our wrongdoings. Well, we don't do that as a nation, do we? Because we are perfect. Because there's nobody better than us. Because again, we think that we are better than anybody else. I don't know what more can I say to get my point across. Those who will care to listen will, continue to argue this point, and those who will forever believe in their gun rights, which they do have a right, but again, your right ends where mine begins. Your right to bear arms stops when my peace is interrupted. And this is what we are not understanding. We are only concerned with ourselves and what we want, and less with what other people want. And it should be the other way around. We should be concerned with others as well as with ourselves. But that wasn't taught during this country's founding years, if you will. It was me, 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 me. America first. America first. Let's make America great again. America first. Interesting that it's coming when America didn't even put their own citizens first when this country started. Should I give you a list? Let's run through that list and see if Americans have been placed first all the time. Let's see. We had slavery. We had segregation. We had laws that were meant to keep certain people out from voting. Then we had eugenics. Interestingly enough, by the way, the eugenics movement started before Germany began with this practice. Then we've had discrimination and again segregation when it came to people with disabilities. Then we talked down on certain groups, Hispanics, Jews, and blacks, as I've mentioned, people with disabilities, Muslims. The list goes on and on and on. Whatever we don't like, we say it and we show it with our actions that we don't like you and we don't want you here. This includes, as I said, Americans first. Did you know that for a certain amount of time, a period of time, although people were born in America, they were not considered American? I'm talking about slaves and I'm talking about Native Americans. So stop with this America first thing that you're trying to make us all believe. The question is, what America are you talking about? If you're talking about the America that I'm talking about, then sure. Let's put each and every one of our individuals first, regardless of race, disability, gender, or any other thing that might be a hindrance to them right now, or that might be a problem for others or to others. But if you're talking about putting the America first, as the right interprets it, or some in the right interpret as America first, no. Those are select individuals, and we have known that they have had a history of violence, of hate speech, and interestingly enough, they claim to be pro-church, pro-Bible, again, family values, but nothing within their actions shows that. Nothing within what they're saying or what they're doing is demonstrating, even to me. And again, I make no secret of this. I consider myself a follower of Jesus Christ, just like they do. But there's a difference, and I'm not trying with this to say that I'm better than they are. What I'm saying is you could see, the difference between a person who follows something, regardless if you believe it or not, people. You don't have to believe the same things that I believe. All I'm saying is, if somebody claims to believe in something, and then there is other people who claim to believe in the same things, you're going to know who truly follows that and who does not. In other words, who's real about it and who's being fake about it. Just as there is fake and real people, there is fake and real food, there is fake and real in anything. even in money. So please, let's start to straighten out some things and speaking the truth once and for all. And that includes Republicans. Because if they are Americans as they say that they are, the first things that they are supposed to do as a nation who fears God, supposedly, is self-reflect. It's introspection, and they are not doing that. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just letting you know some of the things that I was taught, reading out of the same book that you're reading from. If you have enjoyed this talk, this video, and it's served some sort of purpose, make sure to subscribe, share, like the video, give a comment, a suggestion. And for me, it's really hard to talk about these things. It truly is, because just like the rest of you, regardless if you are on the left or on the right, regardless if we may disagree on religious views or political views, what have you, I am sick of this too. Yes, you're seeing these things. I am blind and I have to hear these things. So in a way, I am so glad that I am totally blind and I'm not able to see what you can see. Because that would drive me, that would drive me to I don't know what. But I would, if I could, I would hide myself, go somewhere up in a mountain and just shut myself to the rest of the world while the rest of the world does whatever it does. Please consider subscribing, again, liking, sharing, and leaving a comment. Tell me what your thoughts about this are. I would like to hear them. Always remember to be kind to one another, to be respectful toward one another, especially when you write comments. Why are we writing them? So I want to leave you with this. And I'm going to speak to Republicans again because I think it's important. You claim that the left is, that they're not religious, that they don't believe in what you believe, and that they're this, that, and the other. Let's assume that that is true. Democrats, give me a sec. Let me just try to understand here. So let's say that Republicans are right and that you are what you say that you are. Or I'm sorry, what they think, let me say this again. What they think of you is true. Let's just assume that's correct. So the question is, what purpose does it serve to you, Republicans, to tell Democrats that over and over and over? You are this, you are that, you are going to you know where, and I hope that you blank, 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 blank. Let me ask you something else. Is that what Jesus would do? Or something else? Is this in any way something that will encourage people, that will uplift people? Is this speech that is loving toward others? Are you showing mercy, compassion toward others with this type of speech? Is this speech that's meant to bring us together? Is this speech that is supposed to bring people to Christ? Is this showing Christ to the world? Think about it next time that you want to write something hateful toward other people. What is your intent behind it? That's what I want to get across. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.